Good evening. I thought I'll quickly create a clear demonstration of how I would create a histogram. Just as background, you get three types of data. The one type is nominal data, numerical data, and there's ordinal data. For nominal data, the main thing that you can do graphically is to do a bar chart. Now, numerical data, the main thing you can do analyzing numerical data is to do a histogram. The histogram is very similar to a bar graph with a few changes. So let me jump right in and show you how to do the XM04-01 example that's also in your book. I'm going to use a pivot table to draw it, and I claim that it's much faster, and I challenge anyone to do it faster than I can do it. So let's start straight away. I'm going to share my screen. Here you can see the data for the bills file. It's called XM04-01, as you can see there on the top. So how do I draw a histogram of this? I click anywhere in my data, click on Insert. In this particular case, I'm going to do a pivot table, and I'm going to do it in the existing worksheet. You can create a new worksheet, but I'm going to do it right here so that you can see exactly how it works. So there it is, and what I do is I drag bills in the row field and in the value field. In the value field, I change it to count. Value field setting is count. Change that to count. Now you'll immediately see it doesn't make sense because all it tells me is for 59 occurred once, 70 and 107.90 occurred twice. It looks a bit ridiculous, but here's the big trick. If you right click, you get the option to group it. And here I can decide to group it. What I normally do is I round this down to say 50 and round this up to arbitrarily 500. And now I make a decision, how can I get between 6 and 12 groups? So if I use 100, in this case, I get 5. If I get 50, I get about 10. Can you see that? And let's see what it does. There, it summarized it nicely. I can then click anywhere in it, click Insert again, and select my bar chart. Draw a bar chart for this. So what is the main difference in terms of a histogram as opposed to a bar chart? The main thing on a physical level, what it looks like, is there's no gaps between the bars. So how do I change that? I format my data series, and I can make the gap 0. So there's my gap at 0. I normally make the graph look a bit better by removing any legend. I click on this and I hide all field buttons on the chart. I give it a good heading like histogram of full amounts. I can add an axis label here, axis titles. And this one here is full interval. Okay. And on this side, I'm saying how many times it occurred, which is another word for frequency. So just like this. Okay, I generally make this a bit bigger by clicking on home, make it so it's more readable, make this a bit bigger, more readable. This, can make this. Okay, as you've probably seen in all my other graphs, I tend to make this area white and fill it with white. solid for white, and give it some border. Uh, Again, solid for I like either sort of gray or some bluish color, so forth and so like that. I would generally add labels so that you can clearly see. So that is a typical histogram. In this particular histogram, we can see the distribution of the bullet mounts, so that we know there's only 10 that is between the values of 450 and 500. There's an interesting thing. For instance, if a bill is exactly 100, will it fit in this category? Will it fit in this 8? Will it add to the 8 or will it add to the 24? Now, quite frankly, I normally just do it interactively. So I would go here and change a bill to 100. And if I now right click and refresh, I can see it added it into this one. So Control Z will change it back to the previous value. So I know this one includes it, and mathematical agreement of how to do it is put a square bracket where it includes, and then I know this one excludes. And similar here. So to make this a good solid graph that can give you good marks, you would go and edit all of these in. Come on. Graph to go down. Square bracket, round bracket, square bracket, round bracket. As you can see, this is a relatively complex graph, but it is the underbuilt of a lot of statistics, because this leads directly to something called the distribution, which is underlying most statistical concepts. So this is also called a distribution. So yeah, on the right hand side, what's under total is the frequency of how many bulls occur in this particular bracket. And hopefully you can see that this is a very good analysis. If somebody says, tell me more about the bulls that you pay, and you give them a histogram, it's actually full of a lot of information. There's only 10 bulls that's more than $450. There's 8 bulls that's under 50. This is generally called the mode because it's occurred the most times. This would be, and so you can analyze this. This is skewed to the right, as you can see, it's sort of pointing to the right. This is your histogram of bulls, and I hope I showed you. You can obviously watch it again. My own view is that you should work through it and through some other examples so that you can hopefully and potentially do it as quickly as I can. I hope you enjoyed that, and all the best with drawing histograms in the future.